This has been such an extraordinary time. July into August. As we know, on the altar we have the ashes of Ryu, Joel, Bob Missoff, and his wife Anne mixed together. We have Ehi, plaques for Aiho-san Yasuko Shimano, for Jikashi's brother, Paul Burnett, for your grandmother, Latsko, Elizabeth Latsko. And they passed away within days of each other. We were initially told that Aiho-san died the night of August 6th. No one was sure exactly when. So today at New York Zendo in the afternoon, there will be a special memorial service for her. And they've decided it should be 7/7. And that was the day you lost Paul. Yeah. And 7/7 is also in Japanese traditional storytelling, a very special day. I don't know if you can tell us 7/7. No. When two stars who have been separated throughout the year, on that day, they can come together. So it's very appropriate because of the way Aiho-san met Edo Roshi. And I wanted to read a little bit. I have about 19 stories here, and of course I won't get to them all, but you know, it's either not speak at all or do my best. Okay, so I will do my best. Yeah, in 85, I think, our journal, Zen Studies Society journal, 86, spring, summer of 86. Genro Osho, Genro Lee Milton, who is at Endless Mountain Zendo, at the time was at Shoboji, and he interviewed her. And I thought I would just share some of what she said. She first began her practice without knowing anything about Zen because she was doing tea, chado, tea ceremony. One day she went to Ryutakuji and heard a Teisho by Genpo Roshi, which she said she didn't understand, but somehow it fit. She said, that's the point that I began inside. After that, she said, in only one Teisho, he influenced me a lot. I had been studying flower arranging too. The pine wind, old style school, as well as tea flower arrangement. But I wanted to fit these together with Zen. No matter what kind of flower, or wherever America, Japan, mountain, seashore, they are arrangements too. And there's no school. We don't call it the mountain school of flower arranging, right? I learned a great deal of the beauty of Zen and tea from Soen Roshi. Formless form, simplicity with inconspicuous action. I learned, and then she gives the 4 principles of tea. I learned Wa, harmony, K, reverence, Se, purity, and Jaku, realization from Zen. And so she went to Utakuji, and she said she was very afraid of the monks. I was intimidated, oh yes, very much. It was 10 years later or so that I met Edo Roshi. At that time, Edo Tai Shimano. Through my family's Utakuji connection, we would invite all the monks to dinner once a year on the Star Festival Day. It was on that day in 1955 when I met Eidoshi. He was Soen Roshi's attendant monk. I strongly felt deep inyan, karmic connection, with him. When I first looked into his eyes, I thought, I have known him a very long time. There was a very intimate feeling. He seemed like a brother or something like that, I felt. A few years passed, and Soen Roshi decided to send him to Hawaii. And she thought, oh, he's going to America. I just met my brother, but, well, it can't be helped. So then he was in Hawaii for 4 years and very homesick, and came back for a brief visit. And during that time, they spent time together. She said, by the end of the trip, we had gotten very close. He said that he did not know what the future would be like, but he proposed. Something was pushing me very much, unbelievable. I said yes. I said just yes, and he left. That autumn, he returned to Japan, and we were married. Then he went to America. I could not join him because I had no permanent visa for 1 year. In 1965, January 1st, he went to New York. Meanwhile, I was waiting, and I had to prepare my mind, heart. I had to leave my family. I had to leave my friends. And also I had to prepare for future, which I didn't know anything about. What kind of people, what kind of culture, what kind of talking. I didn't know anything, no English. So I said in my mind, well, forget about it, the future. Anyway, I have to go there, then we'll see. And then General Osho asked her, did you know that the step you were about to take would be for good? She said, yes, what I do is always for good. But then, of course, no one knew what was going to happen, and before she knew it, there she was at New York Zendo. The carriage house had been purchased, and Daibusatsu Zendo, and long Sangha practice, and she speaks a lot about that. And then he asked her, please say something to those who are beginning. How many of you are beginning? I have no desire to say, do strong zazen or do serious zazen and so forth. Only I think that I would say to cultivate virtue, to practice inconspicuous deeds, to do the work which others avoid, such as toilet cleaning, cleaning the kitchen, dishwashing, many, many things which do not attract attention. Try to hide what you are doing, not only in deed, but in what you say. This is very hard for us. We want people to notice us when we're doing what we consider good things. We want people to ignore or not see us when we are doing things that perhaps are not so virtuous. This is upside down views, as it says, right? Anyway, to go back to what she said. This is called intoku in Japanese. I spoke about this a few years ago. Some of you may remember what she says here. But to say unnecessary things, to take credit for self and for the things you do, to make a fuss, this is called futoku, not intoku. Because of our disregard for words we use, things are disturbed, confused. This is against intoku. When we receive difficult things from the egos of other people, we just chanted Bodhisattva's vow, so we all know that passage, right? Even though they may be fools. When we receive difficult things from the egos of other people, try to accept and forgive instead of complaining or being angry with them. So we say intoku. It means inconspicuous virtue. Whether people are looking or not, and with no calculation in mind, do intoku. If so, I think that American Zen will really become rooted. Just now it has started, but so many people are on the ego trip. Sometimes the inconspicuous action is not really so. Look at me, I'm being intoku. Intoku is most important thing. In other ways, the American Sangha is very serious and strong in their sitting. No doubt about it. Just need inconspicuous action. Don't act humble just to appear humble. Without a feeling of gratitude, it isn't possible to make intoku. I like it or I don't like it, no good. Must be with gratitude. Without gratitude or without happy feeling, it is just duty, duty, duty. And unfortunately, some people here who are helping newcomers are conveying that grim state of mind. We don't want that, okay? We don't want to share. This is your duty. You come here, you have to do this way. No, no, no. Please, don't do that. She's not saying that, I'm saying that. Okay? So, of course, she continues, Zazen practice is not only cushion. It is every minute. It is eating, cooking, beauty, everything. Like and dislike, get and not get, good and bad. This is how human life is, right? But how how to not be attached. Anyway, she gave many wonderful things for us in that interview. And thinking of her and how much she influenced me when I was a young student, and particularly in the Tenzo. I cooked for sesshin with her, and that was incredible Zen training. Just how you hold knife, how you wash carrot, how everything. Just this minutely subtle and incredibly profound truth of daily life. So both Edo Roshi and Ayo-san were my teachers. And even later, she became director of New York Zendo. Of course, many, many important things happened, all kinds of great visiting Zen masters and His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and many, many things that she took care of, always inconspicuously behind the scenes. So, this week, last week, this month, last month, 80 years ago, on August 6th, we dropped the bombs on Hiroshima, Nagasaki. The war in the Pacific ended. The devastation continues. Nuclear. We are, again, on the brink. And Myoku, Myo-san, experienced personally the hardships, no food, being shipped away from her mother so that there might be a chance she could have some safety and something to eat in rural Japan. Scars inside and physically. I found a very interesting article in the Atlantic of August this month. My mother worked with League of Women Voters to bring some of the terribly disfigured survivors for medical treatment to this country from Japan. And in this issue of the Atlantic, maybe some of you remember a TV show called This Is Your Life. I grew up without TV, so I never saw it, but evidently on May 11th, 1955, which was when she was doing this work, the Hiroshima survivor Kiyoshi Tanimoto was featured on This Is Your Life. He had come to the US to raise money for victims of the atomic bomb. Seated on a sofa behind the host, Ralph Edwards. Do you remember Ralph Edwards? Yes? Tanimoto wears a baggy suit and looks stunned. After an introductory segment, the camera cuts to the silhouette of a man behind a screen. He speaks into a microphone. Looking down from thousands of feet over Hiroshima, the voice says, all I could think of was, my God, what have we done? Anyway, Edwards kind of cluelessly decides he's going to introduce them and have them sit together on the couch. Captain Robert Lewis, United States Air Force, who piloted the plane from which the first atomic power was dropped over Hiroshima. And he gets them to come into, be next to each other and shake hands. Both men appear as if they want to throw up. Well, it's quite a story. Then Edwards asks Lewis, the pilot, so you entered something in your log at that time? Lewis's voice breaks. He rubs his temples, trying to compose himself. As I said before, Mr. Edwards, I wrote down later, my God, what have we done? So it's a good issue, all about nuclear life. We are living with it. Just up the road, right? Nuclear power. No one knows. Thursday evening, we heard a magnificent talk by Funso Geshe, who is really the embodiment of what long practice, disciplined practice, monastic practice can result in. And it was such an inspiring talk in so many ways. And an hour and a half long, it just went by so fast. So I promise today, no, I will end sooner. However, you know, this kind of training that can be felt, and what he said about karma was so important, the essential thing. And I was thinking, just along with what I've said so far about this time, about our dear Dharma sister, Shigetsu Mariel Goodwin. Some of you met her. She took precepts with me. I got an email from Shindo sensei telling me she had been in a very bad accident. So I was able to talk with her last night. It seems that she was visiting her brother, and he has a little cabin. She went up to the attic, didn't realize that the attic floor was not capable of supporting anything, fell through and crashed 12 feet down on concrete. Her entire left side broke. From eye socket, shoulder, pelvis, hip, everything. And no one knew she was there for several hours. Finally, she had 2 surgeries and she's in a nursing home now. But she said, without this practice, I could not have come through. I didn't realize how essential it was until this happened. And my niece, who's one of these MAGA religious fundamentalists, we've never gotten along, we haven't spoken in years, but she lives not that far away. She was the one who started coming, taking care, making sure I had what I needed. What a treasure this practice is. And on Thursday afternoon, we had a visit from Chris Lord. Some of you know him. He sits here. He also was part of the Tibetan Sangha. And he and Andy and Favor and I were sitting outside on the porch. It was a lovely afternoon, as it is today, a beautiful day, such incredible weather we are having. Of course, we don't take it for granted here in Syracuse. But truly incredible. So there we were enjoying each other's company, and he said, now I have to say, I'm sure he doesn't mind if I tell you this, he has a very high position at a financial company. He's a vice president, and it's a very kind of precarious time, as you know, for such things. And he said, you know, this practice is my operating system. Operating system, some of you know what that refers to?
It's a system in the computer.
Yeah.
Code.
Yeah. And he didn't mean that we were computers. He meant, you know, that's the phrase he thought of to express how totally essential it is. No matter what happens, people scream at him, you lost my money. People tell him, oh, everything's crashing. People tell him, no, you have to do this, you have to do that. Okay, right? He's so calm. And this is why. Anyway, this operating system, this is what we are trusting in. We have to do 2 things. One, to let it do what it does. Not to interfere and say, no, I want a different operating system, or whatever people do with computers. I have no idea, thank God. But at the same time, we have to have a real sense of diligence. This effort, this dedication is as essential as letting it do what it does. And this is hard for us because we tend to see them as divergent. Okay, man, I'm cool. It's going to be fine. Nothing to do. On the one hand. And on the other, oh my God, how am I going to make this work? It isn't doing what it's supposed to do. So you put it in your own words, but everybody has that sense of maybe panic or being flustered or just not really being able to say, I have faith in this, and I'm going to do my very best. In the talk that Phunso Geshe gave, he referred to the 6 paramitas, the 6 perfections, remember? And we know what they are, but I'm just going to run it down for you just in case. What's the first?
Giving.
Giving, dana, right? Just giving. Whatever the call is, whatever the need is, you have this feeling of, I have received so much. How can I offer? How can I support? How can I help whatever being is in front of me or is out there? And how can I make a difference with my life? Whatever is needed to have this sense of being attentive and therefore knowing with this operating system how to give. Dana, very important. The second is one that I really want to speak a little more about today because Aiho-san just spoke of it in Toku. The second is the precepts, yes? Virtue. I'll come back to that. The third is also very important. Kshanti, patience, right? Patience. It's very difficult in our culture to see that as something worthwhile. Everything is pushing you or grabbing you need to do this, come here. To be able to be with someone you can't stand, this is really what patience is all about. To be able to look at political figures who are so anathema, who are causing such havoc, and have this true, deep patience. What are you going to do about it? Huh? Well, of course there are things we can do. We can vote. I'm not saying that patience does not mean becoming passive, all right? But it does mean seeing the Buddha nature in everyone, everything, even in the people you may loathe. So this is very difficult. Patience. Of course, how we enact this in our lives is when things don't go according to our preferences, our likes and dislikes, to see the big I, as Geshe put it. The big I is getting in the way, isn't it? The big I, not E-Y-E, big I, the I you know so well. And we might say are dictated to by this big I. So the great dictator is within each of us. To have the patience that we may not know how things should be, even though the big I says, yes, this is how things should be, and you are not doing it right. Again, when we greet new people here, we must be careful not to let the big I be the one who's introducing them to the Zendo, to the practice, right? And this spans, of course, everything we do. The fourth paramita, so equally with patience, we have what? This diligence, this energy, this vigor for the practice. They go together, hand in hand. The vigor that's needed to really embody the discipline of the practice. This is what we feel when we are with someone who has been in the Dharma for a long time. That sense of inner vigor and discipline, because all your complaints are from this big I. And how do you work with them? Do you believe the big I? Or do you believe your operating system, which will take care of it? Dislikes, likes, preferences, all of that. We see it in everything we come upon in our practice. And 5 is zazen, samadhi, to really open to as it is-ness, to drop off body and mind. We had a great chance to practice this, not only in the second zazen period, but the third zazen period, because it takes Inji-san and myself a little while to prepare to come over here. And so you had Jing, end of Kinhin, then Densho starts, Densho ends, and then what? Nothing. Long before you strike the gong, there is this silence. I'm not here, right? So the point I'm making is, it is not a matter of time, whatever that construct is. It's a matter of the readiness of time, to be aware, to know what is appropriate, huh? Maybe walk a little more. Or, okay, sit. But don't think I'm about to come in the door. So this again, I'm showing you how things weave together that seem separate, that seem correct and incorrect. Yet, no, they are one. 6 is wisdom, prajna. And Geshe spoke of 2 wings. Wonderful image. This I'm sure all of us have encountered before, but it just was so beautifully presented. One wing is compassion. The other wing is, but how did he put it?
Realizing emptiness.
The wisdom realizing emptiness. This, I think, is so important for us. Unless we realize what we shout, more, there is nothing, unless we realize that, there is nothing we do that is not going to trap us. No thought, no words, no actions. Without this wisdom realizing emptiness. Because we believe in, We believe in the solidity of every thought, every emotion, every memory, everything that's going on in the mind. And that belief creates instant samsara. Something, nothing. No, wait a minute, I want that something. It's gone. What am I going to do? This kind of feeling, it's a very human thing. To be able to accept truly as it is requires this wisdom, realizing emptiness. To not be deluded by our karmic patterns. So he spoke quite a bit about karmic imprints. And I want to circle around to this topic of virtue from here. Because as Aiho-san said in her interview, we can't adopt a kind of outer guise of virtue. It just doesn't work. Look at me, I'm doing the dishes. No, I don't think so. So this kind of thing is so important, not to be deluded by our own thoughts, our own emotions, our own karmic imprints, the patterns that we know so well. How do we stop being controlled by them? If that's not the question of our lives, what are we doing here? Genpo Roshi, as I have said, Genpo Roshi, who was the abbot of Ryutakuji when Aiho-san first went there, said two most important aspects of this practice, of our human endeavor: insight and virtue. You cannot have compassion without virtue. Think about it. In Dogen's final years, after writing the great Shobogenzo 75 fascicles, he wrote 12 new fascicles, and he felt at the end of his life those were more important than anything he had conveyed of the Dharma before. And that text has been translated. I just wanted to read you, this is the Memento Mori in Dogen's 12 Fascicles collection. And the final compilation of it, from the first to the last fascicle, is based on an unswerving spiritual vision, which covers renunciation and renewal in the first 3 fascicles, spiritual reciprocity realized through devotion to the 3 jewels, Tisarana, and in the next 3 fascicles, reckoning with the effects of moral retribution. And finally, resolving to die in a remorseful fashion that attains redemption. This is so wonderful, isn't it? To have this resolve, to die with full recognition of all the ways we have not been virtuous, to make full and open confession, to notice everything that we are still doing, even though we have decided, no, we don't do that anymore. It's creeping up. Karmic imprints creep up. To notice them as soon as they occur. To have this be the way we approach our final years. When are your final years? The point is, some of us know, okay, probably in the next few years we won't be here anymore. But some of you are young, and that's maybe a little abstract. You may not realize it, but there's a current running through your life that says, it's my life. I'm going to live my life until, I don't know, long time from now. We don't know. Of course, we don't know. I'm very aware of it, not just because I'm old, but because I grew up with it. My father was killed when I was 1.5 years. He was 26. My brother was killed in 1976, right after the opening of Daibasatsu Zendo, at the age of 20. And so I look at some of you young folks and I think, don't make any assumptions. We really don't know. Nobody knows when their expiration date is. So these words of Dogen are so important for us to really be aware that we have to come to terms with the time of facing death, as he said, by our impeccably upright behavior. Much has been written by the person who put this together, Stephen Heine, and I'm happy to share it with you. It was in Tricycle magazine, the interview with him. But for today, I just want to say this little word, virtue, whether it is spoken of in terms of the precepts, in terms of the 6 perfections, in terms of intoku, throughout our lives, this is the most important thing we can do. How do we do it? We pay attention to what's going on within us. We notice the moment some selfish thought arises, some complaint arises, some blaming, judging others arises. And what do we do with it? Well, we can say, well, we're just human, That's the way things go. Or we can say, enough. No more. This is it. Today I will die. This is what was meant, after all, by Shido Bunan, who said,
Die fully
while alive, die, thoroughly be dead. Then, whatever your actions, they will be beneficial. They will exude compassion. And this is the only way we can fly with wisdom and compassion.